Give it a show.
There we go then. Hello and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. Welcome to the pre-match stream. I'm joined today by James ahead of our massive match now against West Ham in the sort of race for Europe. So everyone, welcome to the stream. If you've been waiting, sorry just for the slight delay there. Thanks for joining us. So James, how are you doing today?
Yeah, not bad at all, mate. Just trying to gear myself up. I've had a lovely weekend. I'm just hoping Everton don't ruin it this time. I mean, we've had our fair share of that lately, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And the team news has just emerged just before we went live here, so we'll get into that in a minute. But just before that, I think we may as well address kind of just how significant of a game this is. There's a quote from Ancelotti that I saw going around on Twitter saying that, you know, if we lose this game, Ancelotti pretty much thinks that that's the race for Europe done. So I don't know what you make of that, James.
I would agree. I would have argued. I nearly argued that it was done last week. I think Terry on our post-match show argued against that, said that there's still a chance, but there's definitely no chance, in my opinion, if we don't win this game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a massive game at this point, and I'll just pull up the table as well. We can just talk about the points difference. Obviously, current game going on, Aston Villa versus United, but Villa were winning that game. United have got it back now to 2-1 though, and if Aston Villa ended up 1 point behind us today, I think that would be a general embarrassment for the season. But just looking at it, with West Ham 34 games played, 58 points, Liverpool 57 points, Tottenham 56, and us back in 8th on 52. Obviously, we've got 2 games in hand on Tottenham, so there is still that outside chance. But yeah, this game today is massive. Yeah, it's absolutely a must win at this point, purely because as well the poor run of form. And Ancelotti said several times, you know, he thought, you know, I can't remember, 3 or 4 games ago, he said, you know, we need 5 wins before the end of the season. I think since then we've got the 3 draws, lost against Villa and that win against Arsenal. So thank you all very much for you all just tuning into the stream now. We'll now get straight into talking about the lineup that's just come out. It goes as follows: Pickford, Coleman, Mina, Keane, Godfrey and Digne in what I'd imagine is a back 5, unless he obviously pushes Digne or Coleman further on. Davies and Allen alongside Sigurdsson in the midfield, Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. So James, what's your initial reaction to that team news?
Better than I was expecting. I'm not going to lie. Just seeing Holgate and Iwobi not in the starting 11s made me feel a little bit better. No Andre Gomez either, which is really good because he's been terrible lately. To see those 3 drop out, they were probably the 3. Well, in fairness, Iwobi wasn't that bad, but he's been poor in other games lately. And Gomez and Holgate were the 2 real underperformers in the Villa game. They needed to be dropped, and see both of them drop out is really good. I think personnel-wise, I think we've probably got the best 11 out there to get us a result out of what we can possibly. Maybe, of course, Decore aside. We're noting Decore's on the bench. We haven't actually mentioned that yet, which is good to see. But apart from maybe seeing Decore back in the starting 11, I don't think we could argue with most of that. You know, I'm not always a fan of 3 at the back. I'm hoping it's maybe another one push more forward, but I really think in terms of the personnel that we can put out on the pitch, they're the 11 best players, and you know we've got rid of 2 of the worst performers of late, which just gives us a bit of a better chance, really.
Yeah, I agree. It's a pretty strong side. We seem to have kind of just come through the main injury problems. Of course, no James Rodriguez. We knew that a few days ago that he wouldn't be playing. He's picked up another injury, and as you mentioned there, Decore on the bench is, you know, it's brilliant to see. I mean, obviously, I want to see him back in the starting 11, absolutely. But if he's not fully fit, then you know I can see why it's not rushing him. I agree with Holgate and Iwobi being dropped as well. I think that's a definite bonus. Holgate, I do believe he's been really struggling this season, and we already know about Iwobi. He's had like 2 or 3 flashes in some games where he's looked kind of worth that 35 million. Then other than that, he's tailed off for the rest of the year.
Yeah, 2 occasions of brilliance per season. That's what 35 million's got us, or whatever, 30 million, whatever it was.
We've already had those moments. So just welcome to the stream. If you are just joining us now, Stephen Thomas there mentioned looks like 5 at the back, Coleman and Digne as wing backs, 3 midfielders and 2 strikers. Yeah, that's what we just mentioned. Like. Yeah, because Ancelotti, we know at times, sometimes Digne likes to play, well, he pushes them forwards into that kind of left midfield position, or Coleman can also do the same on the right. So we'll have to see how that develops. But what do you make of that partnership then? Because obviously a lot's been said about, you know, generally the Godfrey and Mason Holgate, partnership. hasn't been working at the centre of defence, and then Mina and Keane hasn't always been brilliant. So what do you make of, potentially seeing Mina, Keane and Godfrey all in that kind of three?
I don't like three at the back personally. I think personnel's twisted our hand there, to be honest. But I don't think we have much choice at this stage because the wingers aren't providing with Iwobi doesn't do enough. Richarlison has got a better chance of scoring goals if he's through the middle. I think it's what we've got to stick with, whether we like it or not, even though I despise three at the back formations. I think it's what we've got to go with, unless it is, of course, Godfrey as a fullback and one of the two fullbacks push forward into the midfield. Either way, I'm just happy to see the personnel that he's picked be picked because it means no Gomez, which is, in my opinion, a plus because Gomez has been wretched. Holgate's been really poor. Good to see him dropped. I mean, it's bad that we're talking about being happy to see players dropped rather than players recalled, but that's how bad it's been lately. And, Iwobi as well, he wasn't horrific the last time out, but he was horrific the time before. So, it's like you're just hoping Iwobi isn't horrific. It's really disappointing, but that's what we're at the moment. We're just hoping to see the 11 players you think will let us down the least. And that is exactly what I'm like. Who's the least? Which of the 11 are the least sort of crabbish, if you like? Who will actually put a shift in and maybe grind the result out that we need? And I think out of what's available, minus maybe Zakore not being fully fit, I think these are the best 11 that we can put out in terms of maybe getting us the result we want.
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned there about, it's not always great to see players drop. You would prefer a very kind of competitive starting 11 where everyone's
a selection headache, yeah.
But obviously we haven't got that at the moment. I think it'll be interesting to see how Keane fares because he has had some tricky form after he didn't get that England call-up. He's kind of dipped in and out of the team, and he's also struggled in, I think, three of the back formations at times. I'm happy to see Mina back in. I think apart from Ben Godfrey, obviously, but he's played across the back line. He's probably been our best centre-half this season, kind of in comparison to Keane, who's dropped in and out of form, as I mentioned. But, it is good to see that partnership back. And I don't get me wrong, I want to see Holgate and Iwobi and the likes of Andre Gomez improving as well. But they've had their chances at the end of the day, and it's absolutely Tom Davies's time to come back into the side. And he was very unlucky, I thought, last week to not come on as a sub as opposed to Fabian Delph, which I obviously absolutely do not want to see any more of today. But, Ancelotti works in mysterious ways. So we'll just get to a couple of the comments here. Erwin Coleman there, Viva Tom Davies. Absolutely good to see him back in the side. And he absolutely deserves it, to be honest, when he deputised for Alan when he was injured. He was absolutely brilliant. It'll be interesting to see how they work alongside each other. I think they played together was it against Brighton, I think? I can't quite remember. And they work very well as a partnership there because...
We worked hard. We didn't play well as a team game, but they were okay, yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of the other comments. Hope Richarlison scores today. He needs it. Yeah, definitely. Someone else agreeing as well. Hopefully Richarlison can come back into form in this match. So I don't know what you've made of Richarlison recently here, James. He really hasn't been kicking off.
Very, very disappointed in his performance against Aston Villa. I mean, I spoke about the likes of Holgate and Gomez being dropped, and they are perennial underperformers of late, but Richarlison was horrific. I'd say Richarlison was arguably the worst player on the pitch in the Villa game, even worse than Holgate, and he made a game costly mistake. But Richarlison was so poor, and it's because he's in such bad form. He's getting really selfish. There was a chance he had to play Sigurdsson in for a one-on-one, and he held on too long, and he's trying to do too much. And that's a sign of a player who's desperate to try and play his own way back into form, which is maybe a good thing in a way, but it was to the detriment of the team last time, and he needs to pick and choose his moments, and he needs to be more clever, because we're not getting anywhere near what we expect out of him. This has been comfortably out of it. This is his third season here, and it's been comfortably his worst, which just says a lot about how good he was in the first two, by the way, because he was great. But he's really fell off a cliff at times this season. He had a good spell a few months back, but he's generally been poor this season, and he needs to raise his game. And if he does raise his game, it could be crucial to whether or not we do end up in a European place come the end of the season.
Absolutely. We've seen this with Richarlison before. When he does drop out of form, he does kind of just start trying too hard, and he's always desperate for that goal. And as you mentioned, he does sometimes have better opportunities to maybe square the ball or play someone in, and he tries to go for a goal himself. But hopefully we do see an improvement from him today. Terry there in the chat, he's happy with the formation. I think, we mentioned before, James would disagree with you. He's not a fan necessarily of the three at the back or five at the back, but we need to improve, and clearly there's been a bit of a tactical tweak here, and we've seen this formation work at times, but to be honest, we've been very inconsistent, so I don't think you can really assign any particular tactic to any good run of form necessarily, because we do know that Ancelotti
very hit and miss.
Yeah, definitely. Ethan there, starting 11 looks solid. Obviously missing Decore, but don't want to rush him back and get hurt again. Come on, you Blues. Yeah, absolutely clear. Clearly he hasn't trained too much. He did have quite a significant injury, and the club staff have decided not to risk him straight away. Probably want him to get back into training for a few more days before he starts games. But he is an option off the bench. Hopefully a slightly better one than Fabian Delph. Lenny there, he's not happy with seeing Michael Keane in the side. I think that's probably quite strong. Maybe there won't be a disaster.
Harsh. I think that's a bit harsh.
Yeah, I think it's harsh. He has struggled with form at times, but I don't think he's necessarily the massive problem. And someone there that I've just lost a comment about Fabian Delph there, Ingy Squid. If Delph comes on today, I will shave my head bald and rub gel in for 30 minutes. That's dramatic, but I completely understand what you mean. We definitely don't want to see Fabian Delph necessarily come back in today. Ethan's not happy with Delph either. I'm shutting the TV off if Delph comes on. Not a massive Delph fan club in the chat today, but you can absolutely see why. So James,
you're speaking for 99% of the Everton fan base there.
Yeah, absolutely. This will be an interesting match. 3-2 Everton, I'd say. Our away form might give us the door. I think.
When are we ever going to score 3 goals, mate? I mean,
yeah,
that's like optimism, but if we're going to win this, it's going to be a 1-0, a 2-1, or a push. It's not going to. We're not going to score 3 times.
Yeah,
even against the worst teams, we're not capable of it.
Yeah, I can't see us necessarily scoring 3 goals. Just in relation to Richarlison, there, he does have 12 goals. Yeah, that shocks me as well. He gets a couple of goals in the season, but he's not, in terms of his overall performance. I think that's what we were complaining about, that he's not in form, and he's not necessarily helping the side either, because he keeps maybe trying too hard. Wormy there, he keeps moving Richarlison around everywhere, and it doesn't help. Left forward, left wing, right wing. So, James, what would you say is probably Richarlison's best position? Because we do see him kind of switch around quite a bit. So, where would you put him?
I put him on the left wing myself. Oops, not my computer over there.
Lose your camera there.
That's kind of like Richarlison's ball control of late. But I'd have him on the left wing personally. I'd try and get the formation as close to what we had in the early stages of this season, because he wasn't getting goals as such, but he was contributing well at that point. He was, receiving the ball, linking up well with Luca Dean, and we were getting good attacks down that flank. I would definitely try and make a formation where Calvert-Lewin's the sort of front of the 3 of them. I mean, where we play James Rodriguez, whether it's a number 10 or coming in off the right, either way. But I think Richarlison plays his best football in the early stages of this season on the left flank, linking up with Luca Dean. So I'd like to see that again when all personnel fit, and hopefully we strengthen the squad maybe for next season. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, so I'm just referencing there as well. Either Decore not in the team, a good move. Yeah, I think we probably agreed he hasn't really had the time in training to necessarily come straight back in, and hopefully we will see him get a couple of games before the end of the season. But after that significant injury, clearly the club staff aren't risking him. Ethan there, I really hope we win today to take advantage of Spurs' choke. I mean, this has kind of just been the case for weeks and weeks now. Every team seems to just keep offering each other on the silver plate European football, and no one's really getting a grip of it. So we kind of discussed earlier on that we are still in with a very vague chance of European football. But if we lose today, I think we can absolutely kiss that goodbye.
In my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Gavin there, welcome to the stream, saying that he's so glad that Holgate and Iwobi aren't playing. Yeah, we spoke about that a bit earlier as well, about how Holgate hasn't been in good form. Iwobi, it's just been a bit of a perennial disappointment. So neither of them in the side it's probably a good thing. It's probably, in terms of full fitness, is probably our strongest 11 at the moment, which we did mention. And just looking at the bench as well, because we mentioned Decore, another man. Owen Coleman wants to see Josh King get a chance. So what have you made of Josh King then, James? It's been a bit of a weird one since he signed, hasn't he?
I mean, he's not been great, but he's not disappointed that badly either. I mean, he's not done anything, but that's not really the fact that it's not like he's played horrifically. He's just not been given enough game time to showcase anything, or even make an embarrassment of himself. If that is how bad he is, I don't know, but we'll never know, because he's not been getting a kick. That's I agree with Erwin Koeman on this one. I think he should get more of a chance. I'd like to see him, get a game, especially with the way, like I say, Richarlison's been really poor. I mean, he's looked really out of sorts, especially in that last game against Miller. I'd like to see King get more game time and, show us what he can do. I mean, even if we don't keep him on after the summer, just let him make a bit more of a contribution. And then he goes with his head held high, like we remember him well. Even if he bagged one goal before now and the end of the season, you know what I mean? Just let's see what he could have done because we haven't just haven't seen much of him at all.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen a couple of comments just about the West Ham side as well, so we may as well get into that. Talk about maybe who we are concerned about coming up against. Fabianski in goal, Kufal, I'm not really sure how to pronounce the right back. Yeah, Dawson, Diop, and Cresswell, Souček, Fornals, Lanzini, Jesse Lingard, who we're obviously going to have to mention, Ben Rama, and Mikel Antonio. So
very attacking.
Looking at that, pardon?
Very attack-minded, that.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, Yarmolenko's on the bench. I'm sure we'll get onto him,
God,
as we always like to mention. But yeah, so what do you make of that? You just mentioned you thought it was quite an attacking side.
Very attack-minded. This could be interesting. I mean, I'm glad to. Is Declan Rice on the bench?
No, I can't see. No, there's no Declan Rice in the side.
That's interesting. I mean, that's a little bit of a boost. I mean, to be fair, Souček could run rings around our crabs in midfield on his own, to be fair. I mean, we've got some absolute jokers in there. Nice to see Alan and Tom Davis, though. Out of all of, maybe, of course, Decore aside, they're definitely the two I'd rather see in there in terms of the work rate. It's just nice to not see Andre Gomez on the team sheet for that reason. He just doesn't get around the pitch anywhere near enough. And Sigurdsson I can live with if he's further forward, but just don't ever put him any deeper than that because that's a disaster as well. But as far as the West Ham team's concerned, Souček I think is a fantastic player. We probably need two players to deal with him alone, and then you've also got some very good tricky players in there. I think the defence is going to have to be on its A game for this one. They've brought all the attacking flair into the side, plus Souček, who's a bruiser, you know what I mean? There's some very, very good players in that midfield, and we've got to be able to hold our own. I think Ancelotti, in fairness, assumes pick the best people he can. Decore aside, to cope. We'll just have to hope that we can. And it's embarrassing to be saying we just got to hope that we can cope with West Ham's midfield. You'd like to think that our midfield could at least go toe-to-toe with them, but they can't. There's too many crabs in there. And they've, in fairness to them, Moyes has put together a good team of grafters. And that's what I want to see, dare I say it, Everton be more like. I want to see a more workman like Everton next season in terms of the personnel that we can put out on the pitch. I want everyone to run and work for the shirt. I don't think enough players do that now. No one's working for each other. No one's running hard enough. If we're going to get a result today, we have to see that. We have to see more of that because lack of work rate against the David Moyes side could spell danger.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably why we've got that Allen and Davies link up in the midfield because they are kind of the main engines when Decore is not around. And a player I'm always jealous of is Ben Rama, and I know a couple of lads from the Toffee Blues mentioned that as well. We do lack that kind of just out-and-out winger that, he's actually going to take men on. We see that from Richarlison at times, but he's much more of that inside forward. But in terms of a winger, I've always been very jealous of Ben Rama. We know about the threat of Jesse Lingard. He's had a brilliant spell since he came
Jared
in.
Bowen, I love
on
him.
Loan. Yeah, Jared Bowen's a good player as well. He's on the bench today, and they do have some very good attacking players, clearly. But I agree with you. I really like Souček, and they do have that David Moyes brand of a very hard work inside that we are going to have to match if we are going to get anything from this, from this game. And just looking at that side, as you mentioned, no Declan Rice is a boost, but still, that is a very
There's
strong
still
side.
enough energy in that midfield to overrun the absolute wasters we've got. I mean, dare I say, if we have to call upon a Gomez or a Delph, we're in serious trouble there.
Yeah, definitely. Michael Green there in the comments, going for a 2-1 win for us. We always deliver when it's least expected, especially in London. That'll make it 5 wins out of 6 Premier League games in the capital. True, we do have this very strange, very good run in London this season, which is a bit odd, but, it goes hand in hand with how good our away form has been. And it does suit us that we are playing away. We already know about how shambolic our home form has been already. And just a quote there, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, very simple. We have to take 3 points from all the games. I completely agree.
I want to hear that. I want to hear more of that because Seamus Coleman said something about after the last game we need to go to West Ham and get a point. And I'm like, are you for real? Like, come on. Everton Football Club going to West Ham to try and play for a point. This man is the captain of the club. You need to be saying things like what Calvert-Lewin's come out with. Yeah, we need to take 3 points from all the games if we're to achieve the ambitions. Absurd that anyone could ever think of playing for a point. We've got to go and win this game, in my opinion. If Europe's to be a goer, major 6-pointer. If we win it puts it right back on the table. But if we don't, I think it's gone.
Yeah, definitely. And just looking at our other games as well, obviously we have to play Villa again after this. Sheffield United should be 3 points. Wolves should be 3 points. And what we don't want to do is try and leave it to the last day against Manchester City because...
I don't want to leave it to the Sheffield United game at home. I don't fancy us at home against anyone at the moment.
Yeah, that would be an odd one. But yeah, this is a massive 6-pointer of this. But I mean, it's a must-win for both sides. They'll know the significance for them with Chelsea winning last minute against City last night. And just a bit of news there, United seem to have beaten Villa 3-1. So Villa aren't going to overtake us today, and that means we've been given another chance. A lot of sides just kind of keep offering each other.
We've been handed a lot of chances, but we haven't seized them.
Yeah, very true. But just looking ahead, we'll focus on this game. We don't want to get too distracted, and I think this is, as we know, this is a massive game. But I am slightly concerned looking at their side purely because I think we both got mainly full strength sides. We're missing Decore, they are missing Declan Rice, so it is going to be an interesting match. So, James, have you got any kind of predictions? How do you think the game's really going to flow? How do you think who's going to take the initiative?
Well, it isn't going to be Everton, is it? When do Everton never take the initiative? The whole reason we're better away from home is because we're a team that's better without taking the initiative. We play good away performance. We play good away football, and we let the other team attack us, and we hit them on the break. And we're not a team that seizes the initiative, and that worries me at times. We should be looking to take the game to more teams, but the midfield just isn't capable of it. That's where the problem lies. And Ancelotti's not soft; he knows that, and I'm hoping he aims to address that in the summer. But Everton don't do taking the initiative. Everton do only take the initiative when they're getting beat.
Yeah, very true. Ethan there really hope Carlo's lit a fire under our players. Haven't seen the passion of the players playing for the badge as of late. Yeah, very true. We mentioned before about how hard work and determination is going to be very important in this game, especially considering how David Moyes gets his sides playing. There's a lot of Delph abuse going on in the chat, so we can't bring up all of that sadly. But just to mention there, looks like Watkins has got a red card, so he'll miss the Everton game. But I don't want to get too distracted. This is obviously the pre-match for the
And Christ might actually get a draw if that's the case.
Yeah. So we spoke about how important this game is. So where do you think we can maybe expose them then, James? Because we spoke at length about who we're maybe concerned about. So where do you think their weaknesses are?
I don't know really. Not a side. Whatever. I haven't looked into West Ham too much. I'm not sure what their weak links are. I'm not saying they're like world beaters, but I don't see enough of our team capable of threatening them. I'd normally say where maybe Richarlison might be able to get at one of the fullbacks, but Richarlison's been terrible.
Yeah, true.
Maybe if the fullbacks can push forward against theirs, maybe that's if we get a bit of width. But again, how often does Coleman and even Luca Dean get forward lately? Not enough. We need to see everyone firing on all cylinders, and I don't think there's enough in these players. I want to be proven wrong. I've been waiting to be proven wrong, but I just don't know how much our players have got in them to threaten their players. Maybe Sigurdsson could threaten if Souček, likes to make forward runs in the absence of Declan Rice. We might get a bit of luck in the number 10 if Sigurdsson has a decent game. But again, how often Sigurdsson only has a decent game at best every other game. He does always have an off day, and a Sigurdsson off day is usually very bad. I'd like to say something along those lines. If Sigurdsson and Richarlison, who are obviously two of our better players technically, are in the mood and actually show some interest and work well together, I think that we could have a chance. But you're asking some very $1 million questions there, because those players have flattered to deceive so often this season.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just looking at their side, I don't think they have the quickest back line, and if we did have a Richarlison, firing, that would help. But we're just not a particularly quick side. But if we can get Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison up against them, I mean, Craig Dawson, he's not exactly blessed with pace. Soufal, Diop's obviously just, what is he, 6'4", 6'5" or something. So he's not exactly. And then Cresswell as well, now being the quickest. So in terms of the pace in the back line, if we can absolutely get at them and get some runners going, it will benefit us. But we do know that if Richarlison isn't firing and Calvert-Lewin's kind of isolated, that's basically it for the pace in our side. Owen Coleman there kind of agreeing, good. Soufal or Cresswell, they are poor defensively, but good attacking. I don't know if you agree with that then, James. So are fullbacks maybe where we should take advantage?
Well, when you asked about the potential West Ham weak link, I was thinking maybe getting in behind the fullbacks, but when does an Everton player ever get in behind the fullbacks? We don't have the pace for it. We don't have enough out-and-out wingers. We don't provide enough width, in my opinion. Maybe with the three at the back, Coleman and Dean might get forward more. But even then, when do they threaten enough? Especially Coleman, I think he's really lacking in threat. I mean, I don't think Cresswell will be scared at all of an aging Seamus Coleman. I mean, I know I'm sounding a bit like a broken record here, where I've not got many nice things to say about these Everton players at the moment, but that's only going on evidence of what I've seen of late. I mean, we've only won one of the last 5 games, and that was a bit of a lucky one as well. So, these players haven't shown enough initiative lately, and I'd love to see them turn it on today, but it's just remains to be seen. And I'd like to see a bit more intent to go forward. We've got to do that today. We've got to be clever in our defence and our attacking, and if we do, we've got a good chance. But if we don't, we're in trouble. It is literally every game is the same thing. It's a question of how much do these players want it, and are they going to play for each other? Are they going to play for the shirt? And if the answer is yeah, then we've always got a chance. But if the answer is no, then we're always in trouble. But any team can overrun us, even the worst team in the league.
Yeah, and if we do have that kind of 5 at the back, 3 at the back system, and Dinier's given that license to really get down the left wing, and if he could double up with Richarlison on Soufal, I mean, Soufal's he's had a very good season. He's really surprised me when he came in, because I mean, same for Souček as well. I didn't know anything about either of them, and they've both had very solid seasons. But maybe if we could get kind of just doubling up on their fullbacks, I think there's definitely a way in there. And someone that I saw a comment, Ethan, I could see Digne bagging another assist. So yeah, I do agree with that. I think maybe down our left-hand side is naturally going to be stronger. We know Seamus Coleman isn't exactly blessed with pace these days, and we don't really have much more down the right-hand side. But I think it really depends where we set Richarlison out on. We mentioned his position just a while ago, and yeah, I mean, you mentioned that he's best, playing on the left wing, and I probably agree with that, especially in a match like this where we know they have attacking fullbacks, we know they like to get down the line, but it's up to us to really take advantage of it and take the initiative. And someone agreeing there, yeah, all down to the players. They don't seem to have been playing for the shirt as of late. So other than that, I was just looking at a couple of West Ham comments on their team news. They're all very happy. So it's clearly, two very strong sides going into this, and just looking at their bench as well. They do have a couple of very good players, as we know. Yarmolenko, I mean, just it's poetic, isn't it? He always loves to have a good game against us, and Jared Bowen as well, and even Fredericks comes on. He's quite quick.
Bowen's an excellent player. I really rate him.
Yeah,
I'd love him in our team. I mean, I'd love half of this team in our team, if not more. I'd love Souček. Yeah. I'd love Diop. I'd love. There's so many of these players that I would take over what we have. You mentioned Ben Rama. I love that. Any day. There's so many good players there.
Yeah, and I mean, Jared Bowen, and just that I'm so jealous of their kind of just natural wingers that we really don't have any of. When Iwobi comes in, he doesn't really do anything.
He's meant to be a winger. He turns backwards and thinks he's boss because he's done a couple of step overs and nutmeg someone, and he turns back and passes to defenders.
Definitely, and I didn't realise as well. Someone just mentioned there. It's Dominic Calvert-Lewin's 100th Premier League start. I presume that's true. So, what going to make his impact then, James? How important is he going to be if we are going to actually finally get anything from the end of the season? He's going to have to pick up his goal scoring form as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's not among the goals, but then again, who from Everton has? Got Sigurdsson got 2 against Spurs. We got Calvert-Lewin obviously got 1 against Villa. That was his first in quite a while. Richarlison hasn't scored for a while. And then the winner against Arsenal was an own goal.
Yeah, true.
Like, we've not exactly been pulling any trees up in that department. We need to see more. And, that's what I'm saying. We need to see more attacking intent. I think Coleman needs to really take the shackles off and take players on, try what he used to do. Knowing that he's got protection behind him. Luca Dean, again, a license to roam forward, as you said before. We need both fullbacks to be really getting forward to provide that work. And like you say, if their fullbacks are defensively suspect, as somebody said in the comments earlier, that could maybe give us a fighting chance there. But we need to see that kind of attacking intent. Sigurdsson needs to have a good game in the 10 or whatever position he's in. And, trouble the defenders more than, sometimes if he has a bad game, he's absolutely useless. We need him to have a good game today. And then the midfield, like enough said about the midfield against the David Moyes side, as workmen-like as we know they are, they're going to have to graft. And, I'm confident in Alan and Tom Davis that they'll put shifts in. But obviously neither are the most technical players either. So, you look into the likes of Sigurdsson and Richarlison to do the technical side of it, and they need to turn up as well. So everyone's got to have a good game today. And I mean, we can say that about every game, can't we? But, when you're against a side like a top 7, 8 side, a side who's rivaling us for a European place, you're going to be up against some good players. Everyone's got to turn up.
Yeah, true. And I am actually hopeful for Sigurdsson today, purely because he does have Davies and Allen behind him. And as you mentioned, he's a lot better when he's just allowed to go further forwards and doesn't have to do anything else. So I do have hope in him today, purely because I like the midfield of Davies and Allen. They're 2 very hard-working players. And maybe if we saw Decore as well, it's definitely going to benefit Sigurdsson going into it. I hope he is in the 10 and doesn't have to drop back and set any deeper, because he's so limited when he has to do that, and it really does affect us in the end. But just reading a couple of the comments there, the Inky Squid there, my friends in Iron, I asked him if he'd have any player in our squad who would it be. Digne, and yeah, that's probably it really. I mean, they have a very strong side this season, and David Moyes has done very well to put it together. Ethan there need that aggressiveness from Coleman. We definitely mentioned that for everyone, that we're going to need it everywhere. Erwin Coleman has done okay this season, definitely not a starter anymore, but the club even know that. Yeah, I mean, there are the rumours that we are looking at Max Aarons, even though that's tailed off slightly, that the club clearly do think that we do need a new right back. And at this moment, Coleman he's not even doing too badly. He's clearly limited, and you can't really blame him.
He's just lost when he gets to this point. Cutting edge that he used to have. And I mean that age catches up with everybody, so you can't exactly level too much of him. But he needs more support from younger players, maybe players with a bit more in the tank. There's players who aren't pulling the weight, and thankfully, I think 2 of those perennial, like crabs, if you like, have been dropped. Today, I do feel as optimistic as I possibly can about starting 11. I mean, I think no one can argue, even if today doesn't go as well as we'd like. I think if we were all in Ancelotti's position, I think we'd pick something close to this team in terms of the people, the 11 players who are putting out on the pitch, regardless of what formation or whatever. I think they're the right personnel. It's the only personnel, in my opinion, who can maybe get a job done.
And just looking at the bench as well, I've just got the team over here. That's why I'm looking over here. We've got King, Iwobi, Bernard, Decore. It's meant to be a fairly strong bench, which we haven't seen at times this season. We've had a lot of youth players featuring, but I mean, 20 minutes left, it's 0-0. I mean, who are you bringing on? Because we've seen Josh King in flashes. We saw Bernard come on last week, did absolutely nothing. We don't want to see Iwobi. So who are you looking to on our bench to actually make that game changing impact?
Oh, obviously Decore's got to come on. I think if we need him. I think King's probably the next on the list in my eyes, but unfortunately, I don't think it will be in Ancelotti's eyes. I think it will be Bernard or Iwobi. Personally, I'd like to see Josh King just because I think he's got a little bit more in the legs, bit more of an eye for goal as well, potentially more end product than, we're talking about potentially here because we haven't seen enough of Josh King to decide whether he's good or bad. But at this stage, not knowing whether someone's good or bad is better than a Iwobi or Bernard.
Yeah, definitely. It's a weird one, isn't it, that we haven't seen Josh King after all the fanfare. We brought him in last minute. We were over the deadline. We were battling Fulham for him, and I wonder if he probably wished that he went to Fulham.
He wishes he'd gone to Fulham now.
Yeah, definitely. And just looking at the bench, I mean, if we see Del for Andre Gomez, I don't even know what to think.
My heart is going to sink.
Even getting agree with you, James.
Nkunku,
yeah,
like I'd have him on over either of those two. Just the fact that he can run is a start.
Yeah. Just a comment there. Players like Iwobi on the wing need to help Coleman when playing. I hope we sell Iwobi, or if he just contributes more goals or assists, I prefer Bernard over Iwobi. That plays interesting. I think it just depends really, because Bernard he hasn't done a lot, and I was disappointed when he maybe just didn't get that move. He was linked quite heavily with that move away in January, but didn't quite come off for him. And if the club could get good money for him in the summer, and the Iwobi, maybe I think that would benefit us massively. But what have you made of Bernard? It's a really strange one. I don't really get why he didn't end up leaving in January.
I think he's a very, very skillful player, very gifted, capable of brilliance on his day, but again, very, very inconsistent, along with many of these other members of this Everton squad. But most of all, I think he's just a bit too lightweight for this league, and he's too easily bullied by the types of players we see in the league. He's not quick, so he's not going to knock the ball past someone and do them for pace. He's got the trickery, but a player can easily muscle him off the ball. There's not enough there to make a decent Premier League player of him. If he goes to a slower league, France or an Italy, or like you say, even like an MLS or something, I think we'll see Bernard really shine. I think he's an excellent technician, full of skill, capable of moments of brilliance, but I don't think we're going to see it at Everton, certainly not in the Premier League.
Someone commenting there, I agree. Unfortunately, I don't see anyone in their right mind wanting to buy or even loan Iwobi from us, especially looking at his record. For us, that is the problem. We do kind of have all these players, and if they're not performing, it's not necessarily easy to ship them off. And I don't think Ancelotti is particularly impressed with Iwobi, especially after that instant. What did he put out on his Instagram or a Snapchat story?
Want to play in a preferred position.
Yeah, and then he started and was absolutely
played in his preferred position a couple of times and stuck the place out.
Yeah, it is a very strange one. Someone there, B Animation, mentions Nkunku. Thoughts on Nkunku? Game time for him? Yeah. Obviously, he started the season very positively. He had a good preseason, but he's still very young and he's never going to get in over Digne at the end of the day. So, what would you do with him in the summer, James? Because obviously, he's not going to get the game time here. He's very much part of the first team squad, but he's not going to get that consistent game time. So, do you loan him out or do you keep him? Because at the end of the day, we need a backup left back. We've seen Digne. He did pick up that injury earlier this season. So, what would you do for him? What are your thoughts on him?
I would loan him out in the summer. We've seen that Ben Godfrey can do a job if we need him to as a left back. And if the worst comes to the worst, there's the young lad Thierry Small as well, who's been getting good reviews. If the worst came to the worst, we could call upon him maybe. And it's always a bit of a gamble with injuries. You never know what might happen. But for his sake, Nkunku, I think he should go and get a loan, hopefully abroad, somewhere where he can really like a top like a first tier league, maybe a Bundesliga or a Liga 1 or something like that, where he can really get some game time under his belt. But for me, while he's still here now, between now and the end of the season, I know maybe he's too inexperienced to play as an out and out fullback, but put him on the wing in front of Dean, or just he's got pace, and not enough Everton players have got pace, so use that pace. Put him on the left wing in front of Dean or in front of Godfrey and let him use his natural speed. Because by God, we are short on it. Senior players aren't quick enough, in my opinion. Some of them are seriously lacking in that department. So give him a chance to threaten with his pace, because that's an attribute that it might be a little extra dimension for us that we didn't even know we had.
Yeah, true. And he obviously had a very bright start of the season, and the club highly rate him. And we've seen as well Anthony Gordon, the likes of Jared Branthwaite. They got some good loans. Obviously, Gordon didn't end up playing. Branthwaite got injured, so didn't quite work out. But they are getting loans, and we've seen the club struggle to actually find decent loans to help the progression of our young players for a very long time. But there was promise shown in January, so hopefully that continues into the summer. And for those of you just joining us now, we've been live for about 40 minutes. Maybe be live for 5 minutes or so. Just over 15 minutes until kickoff in a massive game this season. We've spoken at length about how, we've spoken about the team news. We've spoken about how if we lose this game, that's probably it for Europe. And Ancelotti, of course, said that himself. And just how massive this really is. And a couple of predictions there. Everton to win 2-1. So James, I don't know what your predictions are then for the match. Any score predictions?
I'm going to go with, as much as it's not what I want, I think it might be a draw. I'm going to go with 1-1. And even that, for me, is with what I've seen evidence-wise from Everton lately, I think that's pretty optimistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll go with 1-1.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'm going to go for an Everton win purely because our away form is what's kind of just kept us vaguely in the running this season, and I mean, we are struggling for form, but I like to think we could maybe take our chances today. Inky Squid there. Nkunku has a lot of skill as well. He's playing tennis versus the Salford players. Yeah, very true. That was obviously earlier in the season in the League Cup, I believe, and it would be an interesting dimension, but I don't think we will see him feature. Ronald there with an interesting take. Do not want to go into that Mickey Mouse Cup. Hope West Ham win the game. I want any European football we could possibly have.
I want to go in the Mickey Mouse Cup if it means some kind of European football. It's better than no Europe at all. If we don't get any form of Europe, then it's a complete utter disaster.
Yeah, I think, as much as I'm not a massive fan of that, I don't really get why they have created the new European conference. I'll take any European football and
I'd snap their hand off for that now.
Yeah, absolutely, honestly, especially with the position that we found ourselves in.
The way we've been playing lately, 7th would be a blessing at this stage.
Yeah, very true. A couple of predictions: 3-2 Everton there from Inky Squid. Lee, West Ham to win 4-1. Not maybe the most optimistic there. Just a kind of final couple of questions as well. Just so if you do have any questions you want to ask us, get them in now because we will be rounding off the stream soon. Fortunella Sims loan been a success. Yeah, he's been firing in the goals the past couple of games, hasn't he?
Banging them in for Blackpool, got them in the playoffs. If you never know if they get promoted, there's a good chance that you might get a championship loan with them next season.
Yeah, true.
Which, that continues his progression up the leagues.
Yeah, and he'd be very good. And I think he scored today or yesterday, didn't he? So he's getting on a good run of form. And the clubs, in general, as I mentioned, that finding loans for young players, they have massively improved that. Well, they showed that in the January window. And hopefully we will see that going into the summer. A bit more optimism there. 3-1 Everton up the toffee from Ethan. Philip Mason, all good here. Beer's flowing. Don't blame me, mate. That's absolutely fair enough.
To get through this one.
Ethan mentions 7th is the goal for me, considering how bad Spurs have been. True, we need to start taking advantage when teams do offer us these chances. Final question there from Inky Squid. For replacement for King, should we get Daka or Toney? To be honest, I think if we signed Ivan Toney, that's more than a replacement for Josh King, who hasn't featured. Ivan Toney,
absolutely,
he's broken the championship score record.
Daka, I think any of them, to put it this way, at this stage, I'd just take a player who can run.
Yeah, we definitely need to have.
I'm sick of crabs, lazy crabs at the club. Just get anyone in who can run, like an Ollie Watkins type player. Tony's obviously following in Watkins' footsteps now at Brentford. I wouldn't mind him at all. No, whether it's as a starter or as a backup, whatever he contributes, it's going to be more than what Josh King's contributed through no fault of his own, but he hasn't contributed anything. Cenk Tosun definitely hasn't contributed anything as a backup striker. Moise Keane even didn't. I know he's done well with Paris, but he didn't do anything in an Everton shirt, really, did he? We need an adequate backup, especially when, like you say, when Richarlison's underperforming. We need some kind of flexibility there, someone to rotate in and out and increase that competition for places.
Yeah, I completely agree. But that's probably just going to bring us to the end of the stream. Just around 50 viewers there. Thank you all very much for tuning in. Just over 10 minutes until kickoff now. James, any final comments that you want to make?
Not just leave everything on the pitch today, please, lads. That's all. I'm just begging for a hard workman-like performance. Get the result we need. Get that win, and just keep us in the hunt and just give us something to cling to, because I'm sure as hell sick of Everton finishing the season early, and by God, I want to have something to keep playing for. So just get out there, lads, and just work hard, work for the shirt, work for each other. That's it. Just give everything you've got, and Everton fans will be happy as long as you give everything you've got and get a decent result. No, let's go and hopefully get a win.
Yeah, absolutely. So be sure to drop the stream a like. Yeah, be sure to drop the stream a like. Thank you all very much for tuning in. We are slightly optimistic. We may have sounded like we've complained a bit today, but
I've had plenty of complaints. Don't you worry, I'm always full of complaints.
James, I believe you're on the post-match stream as well.
I am indeed. Yes, I'll definitely tune in for that, guys. I'm going to be back later on. I think Paul McAllister's joining me for that one. So yeah,
I hope you've got something positive to talk about and not another disappointment.
If I got me and Paul have had some very disappointing post matches lately, so thank God we're due one.
Yeah. So thank you very much for watching. Drop the stream, like as I mentioned. Really do appreciate you. And come back after the match. You'll get all of James's instant reaction. Hopefully, much better.
Hopefully, a bit of optimism
there. Watching.
Come on, you Blues.
Thank you very much for watching, and join us next time on the Talking Blues. Goodbye.